Hey guys, it is MattySports here, bringing you my Week 5 predictions of the 2013 college football season. Last week I went 7-3, and I missed my upset special of NC State over Clemson. I thought it could happen, but NC State got a few bad calls against them, which kind of cost them the game, so I think NC State really had a great shot, but they didn't win, but it's whatever. So I'm 2-3, or 2-2 on my upset special, so I'm at even 500, so let's see if maybe this upset special can bring me over 500 again. But we won't get to that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and get on to our first game, which is tonight, Thursday night, of Virginia Tech traveling on the road at Georgia Tech. And Virginia Tech's going to be sporting their new stone designed helmets for this one game, which I think is kind of a waste of money. I don't get the point of it, but either way, those helmets aren't going to help them at all, I don't think. And I see Georgia Tech using their triple option with Vad Lee to their advantage and running all over Virginia Tech's defense. So I see Georgia Tech winning this game at home in a pretty convincing fashion. Next up, we have number 15, Miami, Florida, traveling on the road to USF. And this is kind of an easy pick. I mean, USF sucks this year. They're probably the worst FBS, big conference team in the American Athletic Conference. They're probably the worst team out of all 120 FBS teams. So I see Miami winning this pretty easily. Even though it's on the road, there's probably going to be more Miami fans than USF fans there. So Miami should win this one pretty easily with Stephen Morris and Duke Johnson. Our third game, we have a top 25 game. Finally, nice to see some more of these. We have number 14, Oklahoma, traveling on the road to number 22, Notre Dame. I see Oklahoma winning this game because I think they're going to be very mad and they're going to want some revenge after last year's game where Notre Dame came into Norman and beat them there. And I think Notre Dame is not good this year, as I've said many times. And I think Oklahoma's been nice and balanced, just pretty consistent this year. They haven't really impressed me yet, but if they win at Notre Dame, I think they could start to impress me a bit more. But Oklahoma's been consistent, and Notre Dame, in my opinion, has not. So I see Oklahoma traveling on the road and beating Notre Dame. Next up, we have, again, another top 25 matchup with number 21, Ole Miss, traveling on the road to number 1, Alabama. This is a pretty easy pick for me. I see Alabama winning this. Ole Miss has too many young players with Robert Medici. I can't pronounce his name. But he was the number 1 recruit, though, coming out of last year's recruiting class. But even with Ole Miss's young talent, I don't think they're going to be able to handle Alabama's hostile environments. And Alabama hasn't actually really impressed me that much this year. They've kind of been struggling on offense, and Ole Miss may have a chance, but I don't think Alabama's team is as good as last year's team, so Alabama should still win this game, but I think Alabama might stumble a little later in the season. But in the end, Alabama should win this game pretty easily, beating number 21 Ole Miss. Next up, we have a Pac-12 matchup of Arizona traveling on the road to number 16 Washington. I see Washington winning this because they have home field advantage and Washington plays really well at home. Arizona will be led by Rich Rodriguez. I don't think he has a great offensive mind, but I don't think Arizona's offense is going to be enough for them to power through Washington in order for them to get this upset, but Washington should have no problem beating Arizona at home. And now we have another top 25 matchup, which is, again, very nice to see. This is going to be a great week of college football. We have number 23, Wisconsin, traveling on the road to at number 4, Ohio State. This is actually kind of an interesting game. It's going to be on at 8 o'clock on Saturday night on ABC. And I still think Ohio State's going to win this game. Ohio State now has 2 great quarterbacks because we've seen their backup come in for Braxton Miller, and he's already set records, and he's just, if not better than Braxton Miller. So, I mean, they have 2 good quarterbacks to turn to if they need to switch things up. And Wisconsin, I think, is going to be too slow to handle Ohio State. And because it's also at Ohio State in the shoe, I think Ohio State should win this one, but I think closer than people think. I think Wisconsin's going to keep it close. Next up, we have another Big Ten matchup of Iowa traveling on the road to Minnesota. I see Minnesota winning this game because they have home field advantage, and from what I've seen statistically, Minnesota has had better stats, and Iowa lost in the first week to Northern Illinois. And Minnesota just kind of seems more like the consistent team. I've seen who they played against and what the scores have been, and they've been beating their opponents by at least double-digit margins, which is pretty good for Minnesota. So if Minnesota can win this game, they can go to 5-0 and just be one more game away from bowl eligibility, which would be huge for the program. But Iowa, I think this is definitely going to be a really close game. This is kind of a toss-up game for me, but I see Minnesota winning this game at home. Next up, we have another Pac-12 matchup with USC traveling on the road to Arizona State. Now, Arizona State came off of a loss against Stanford, but they kind of came back towards the end, showed some fight in them. And I like Arizona State in this game because they are at home, and the way they try to come back against Stanford kind of showed me what this team has to offer. And I don't think USC is going to be able to show up at Arizona State and play consistently. So I see Arizona State winning this game. Next up, we have my upset special to see if I can go to 3-2. Now, this is definitely a stretch. I'm hoping that this can happen, but I have number 12 South Carolina traveling on the road to UCF, and I see UCF pulling off the upset here. Now, UCF came off of a huge upset victory over Penn State last week, and that was on the road at Penn State, and now UCF has South Carolina at home, and it's a noon game. And I think UCF with Blake Bortles, I think he can lead UCF to this upset. South Carolina has not impressed me that much this year. Sure, they did beat North Carolina at the beginning of the season, but they also lost to Georgia. And Jadeveon Clowney he hasn't really done that much. I don't know what to think of him this season yet. And UCF, I've seen the people they play, they beat them pretty convincingly, except for Penn State, which they kind of gave up a second half lead, but they still won the game. But if all the cards play right, I think UCF can get this upset. And now for the marquee game of the week where College Game Day is going to go to. It is number 6 LSU traveling on the road to number 9 Georgia. And I see LSU winning this game on the road. This is going to be a really good game to watch. I'm really excited for this game because it's going to be a very interesting game. This is going to be Georgia's third tough test this season because they've already played Clemson, South Carolina, and now they're playing LSU. Now, LSU hasn't really played anybody this year. I mean, they played Auburn and TCU, which that's about it. But LSU's been pretty consistent on their offense. Zach Mettenberger has impressed me more than I thought he would so far this year. And Jeremy Hill at running back has also been doing really well for LSU. And I think they can just storm into Georgia and win this game. Aaron Murray is going to have another great performance like he did against South Carolina, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that against this LSU defense. And I see LSU coming into Georgia and winning this game. But that's it, guys. Thank you for watching this week's Week 5 predictions of the 2013 college football season. Let me know in the comments below what you think, again, with different predictions that I have, or maybe different games you are interested in that I did not list on here. But that's going to do it for me, guys. This is MattySports, and I'll see you guys in Week 6, where I recap what my Week 5 predictions and start the Week 6 predictions. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week. Later, guys.